What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another powerful episode of Pleasure Principles. I'm your host, Avik, and today's episode is a real one, I'd say, because where we are talking about mental health in the middle of adversity. Not the kind of cute motivational poster version, the in your body and in your relationships and in your identity version. So, my guest today is please welcome Laura Bratton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Laura. So, at 9 years old, she was diagnosed with an eye disease and was told that she would become blind. So, over the next 10 years, she lived through that transition as a teenager, which is already a lot when you are just trying to survive the middle school vibes. So she's now the author of Harnessing Courage and the founder of OB Global, where she teaches people to meet challenge with grit and gratitude without bypassing the hard stuff. And since this is pleasure principles, we are also gonna go there. Like, how do you keep your joy, your desire, and your sense of self when life hits rewrite on your whole identity? So I'll not take much of your time. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again, Laura.
Thank you.
Amazing. So Laura, like we're discussing about the adversity and the identity. So when you first learned that you were going to lose your sight, what did it do to your mental health, like emotionally and in terms of the identity wise?
So it absolutely destroyed me mentally. And the reason I use that word, the grief was so intense. It felt like my whole, well, I was going to say my whole world was changing. Or literally, my whole world was changing. But the confidence, that fearless, the grounded person that I always was up until a teenager, that was no longer. I was so overwhelmed by the grief. The anxiety was incredibly deep. And when I say anxiety, I mean like deep panic attacks that just one after the other after other. I mean, it just constantly felt like I could never get my breath. There wasn't just like a few moments of that. And then also at that same time was the deep depression, the depression of grieving the past, grieving how difficult life was with sight compared to now without sight. So, from that, what did it do to me mentally? It absolutely destroyed my confidence, my grounding, my sense of identity, which comes to the next part of that. What did you do to my identity? It totally stripped me from my identity. And yes, I wasn't grounded anymore. Yes, I'd lost my confidence. But also the other major part of the identity was what you mentioned, because I was a teenager. I was losing not only my vision, but those normal teenage markers. So that identity, it made me feel like I always had to relate back in conversations to, oh, when I had sight, blah, blah, blah. I had to weave the fact that I did have sight into the identity, like that gave me some sense of identity. So that was incredibly difficult. That all happened at the exact same time. The grief, the depression, the anxiety, the losing the identity, losing that grounding, that confidence. That was all incredibly traumatic, while I'm still having to deal every day with the physical part of the vision loss.
I totally agree. So, like, and one more thing is like, was the hardest part the fear of future, or it is like the grief of losing who you thought you were going to be?
My initial answer was going to be both. But if I
Okay.
had to choose one over the other, it would
Hmm.
definitely be, or even now, even today,
Yeah.
as a 41-year-old, that,
Hmm.
I've worked through that intense
Hmm.
anxiety and depression. I would still say, hands down, it's the grief of what I lost, what I thought life would always be wasn't. So, indefinitely the grief. And the reason I say that, the grief is ongoing. So, in the type of grief that I experienced, it wasn't like one direct situation. It's a grief that's ongoing. It wasn't like there was a period where I lost my sight and then I regained it. It continued on forever. So, there's that constant living with the grief, and not in that intense, sobbing, weeping way, but just in that underlying sadness way of it's always there, what I don't have.
That's actually, I'd say it hits home because people think that trauma is the kind of event, but a lot of the pain is the kind of identity demolition and rebuilding in public. So that is something I believe. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100. Yes. Oh my gosh. You can say that a million times over. It is so
Hmm.
true. We think about it as one event and then it's over and done. We don't realize the depths of how it shakes our
Yes,
identity.
exactly. I totally agree with you. Yeah. And like then I mean you went through a 10-year transition. So what was the most exhausting part mentally that outsiders just could not see?
Probably the most exhausting part was I didn't show the anxiety and the depression and the grief that I was going through. I had on that mask, that mental. I covered up how I was really feeling. I didn't let myself feel what I was feeling until I got home at night. Then I would let myself cry or be angry or feel those difficult emotions. So that was the hardest part. I didn't feel like I could express my anxiety and and depression. I feel like I had to hide it and act like I was doing great and act like everything was fine. So that was the extreme exhausting part.
So uh, I totally get you. And like what did you need? I mean, like, what did you need most from people back then? Like support, patience, autonomy, or just to be treated normal?
Honestly, just
Mhm.
to treat me normal.
I agree.
And
Totally
and
agree.
I say that I can give a real world example of what I mean by that, because my identity was totally shifting and changing and being completely changed. I needed something to be normal. I needed something to be the same. So the normalcy that I experienced was I have one older brother who's 5 years older than I am. He continued to treat me the same. He continued to treat me like that annoying little younger sister that he just wished would like vanish, right? And not interrupt him as he's like playing with his friends and playing basketball and trying to do homework. That normalcy was so deeply healing because nothing else in my world was normal. I needed some sense of normalcy to keep me, I was going to say keep me grounded, which I didn't feel grounded because it was so emotionally difficult in my mind. Yet I needed that outside normalcy. And another example I always think about, I remember just being with my friends and, you know, we would be playing our favorite music, just making up crazy like dances and singing. And as simple as that sounds, that normalcy was a sense of healing. That normalcy was a sense of strength.
Exactly. I agree. And I have to say this that the fact is like sometimes the most harmful thing is not a kind of cruelty, quote unquote, but it's um I don't know, I should be saying this, but yes, it's true that it's people projecting pity or
Yes.
they're just trying to fix it, like instead of you listening. Because
Yes.
you won't find people listen where the main solution is listening, right?
100%.
Exactly.
And that's very rare. I could
Yeah,
talk.
very true.
I could talk all day long on that. That could be a 10-hour podcast. But just a few quick examples of exactly
Mm,
how I experienced that in my life. That when you said that, first I'm addressed
yeah.
like the pity. When people would say to me, "Oh, sweetheart, I
Mm,
don't know how you're doing it," or "Oh, you are so inspirational," with that tone, right?
mm,
That made my anxiety and depression worse. I would go home and cry more after those comments.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, that is even I have also faced this kind of situations. I mean, I simply feel like, why are you treating me like that when
Right,
I do not need for those?
right.
So what I need is I just need you to treat me like the normal person,
The normal, right,
right?
right,
I have two hands, I have two legs, I have two eyes, I have mouth, I have a brain. I can do these things like you do. I also do.
right.
Forget about things. I can also do that, right? So why don't you treat me like that? So that is the main thing. And uh, sometimes I also find it very crazy, and sometimes I lose control as well. It's like what happens is like when you have suppose a knowledge on something, or
Okay,
maybe you uh, gaze or understand the situation. So this happens with me. So like I get to understand the situation which is supposed to happen, or most probably it could happen kind of scenario. And suppose or you can say it's a kind of intuition, right? So uh, this will happen, and when I'm sharing with the person with who is in front of me, and when that person did not listen, or maybe partially listening,
right.
and it's like you will feel like you are getting ignored, that they're
Up.
not much interested, right? So that time I feel, why then, why have you started that conversation when you cannot listen, right?
Right, 100%. Like, why are you even taking the time to listen if you're not listening? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're so right. You do feel like you're not even listening. So why are you here?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, very
Yeah,
true. I mean, I believe lot of people should actually, I mean, I don't know. I mean, people should actually focus on these things, because these tiny things actually matter in life. So,
they matter because just like you said, listening is the solution. I mean,
yeah,
true story. I cannot tell you how many times
mm,
I've worked with people in coaching sessions or in a chaplain hospital setting, and they will say, "Wow, you helped me so much. Thank you so much." And I said
yeah,
maybe 5 words in 30 minutes.
yeah,
All I did was hear their pain, listen to what they were going through.
yeah. Very true. Yep.
So you're so right. Listening is the solution.
Yes. Very, very true. Yeah. And also, like, because we are on pleasure principles, we also talk about the joy and the right to a full life, right? So, um, we also talk about the right to a satisfying life as well. So when adversity hits, pleasure can feel also kind of unsafe or undeserved. So did you ever struggle with that?
Absolutely. Because what I thought in the very
Hmm.
beginning, I'll describe how I felt in the beginning and how I feel now. So,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I thought that if I felt pleasure, meaning like joy, laughter, just enjoyment, a conversation with a friend, I thought that meant taking away from my pain.
Exactly.
I thought that that meant that my anxiety, my depression was not valid. So for me, mentally, I had to get to a mindset where
Mm.
I understood both could coexist.
Yeah.
That me enjoying something in life, having pleasure, eating a piece of chocolate, having a great
Yeah.
conversation with a friend, enjoying sunshine, enjoying nature, that
Mm.
didn't make my pain less. My pain
Yes.
was still there. It's still really difficult being blind in a
Mm.
sighted world. Yet I had to learn both could exist.
Yep.
So my mindset, I say that to say, my mindset today is that both can exist, that me
Mm.
experiencing joy does not mean life is not hard.
Yep.
And I'll give you a real world lived experience. Just
Mm-hmm.
early this morning in the
Okay.
25-degree weather, which
Oh.
is extremely cold for the southeast United
Uh-huh.
States, my husband and I were outside on a hike. And
Mm.
yes, there's that level of sadness. Oh my gosh, I can't see this beauty.
Uh-huh.
Yet there was I had so much joy being in nature, feeling the cold
Yes.
air, hearing the sounds of the birds, pass the different people that we pass with dogs, talking to their
Mm.
dogs and pet the dogs. And so there was intense joy. At the same time, there's that sadness that I can't experience the beauty of sight. So I
Mm.
give that example to say pleasure and pain can coexist.
Exactly. Exactly. And so also like if someone who is listening in the middle of a life change that they didn't ask for, like
Yes.
so diagnosis, breakups, job loss, grief, so what are the two or three practical resources that you'd give them to stay grounded?
The very first tool is
Mm.
validate your feelings.
Okay.
So just as I shared, I covered up my
Hmm.
anxiety, my depression, my grief. That was
Hmm.
me not validating my true, real feelings. I didn't think those feelings were valid.
Okay.
Validate your anger, your sadness, your tears.
Mm.
Validate what you're experiencing when you're in the midst of loss. After you
Mm.
validate, choose that moment to do one thing, phone call, email, whatever it is, conversation, whatever it is, choose to do one thing that will move you forward rather than, oh, I'm going to be peaceful the rest of my future, right? Like, rather than trying to go from your change to having it all figured out instantly,
Mm.
choose to do one thing to move you forward. And then
Yeah.
the very last resource I would give is once you validate the pain, once you do that one moment next forward, trust
Mm.
yourself that that's enough. Validating your pain and focusing on the next moment, that's enough for what you're going through because change is
Mm.
exhausting. Change is overwhelming. Change changes our identity, just like we've talked about. So
Yeah.
trust that what you're doing is enough.
Correct. Lovely. So, that's a kind of line people write on a sticky note and keep for years. And
Yes.
yeah, right. Yeah,
And because I did, I say all that
yeah.
because that's exactly what I did for years
Mm,
to survive. So yeah, I don't
yeah.
say that from, hey, I read this in a book, right? But this is
Mm,
actually lived experience that got me through adapting to
mm,
vision loss.
perfect. Great. So, dear listeners, I'd like to share one mini challenge for you, right? So maybe for a week you can try and you can let us know, like, what do you think? Because it's really great, right? When we together we do something and we share something, it actually works. So pick pick one adversity that you are carrying and answer this honestly, that what is this trying to teach me? And at the same time, what am I trying to avoid feeling? Right? So then do one small act of self respect and a boundary, a walk, or therapy booking, or maybe a real conversation as well. And the good part is you can also do a kind of a nap with zero guilt. Right? Right? So do that and let us know what you feel and how you feel, because maybe from your experience someone else can also learn, right?
Yes.
That is a very important part. So because your mental health is not a kind of vibe, it's a system and it deserves a leadership. So why not to? So Laura, like, thank you so much for your honesty and your power, I'd say, and at the same time for reminding us that courage is not very loud, it's consistent.
Yes. And thank you for what you shared, because that is 100% true about
Yeah.
self respect.
Yes.
And that when we go through change, we lose our self respect.
Mm.
But if we get, and I can honestly say now, yes, I'm adjusted to the blindness, but I can
Hmm.
honestly say that self respect is what gets me through every day.
Exactly. Exactly true. So if anyone wants to connect with you, how they will connect?
So the best way is my website.
Mhm.
laurabratton.com has all the resources on the speaking, the book, coaching. It's all there.
Amazing. Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put the links and everything, all the details about Laura in the show notes so that you can easily reach out to her. And we can also discuss, you can share how you feel, what you felt after this challenge as well. So, I believe if you are listening to this podcast and you are feeling fighting battles that you cannot see. And if you haven't yet, then please follow Pleasure Principles wherever you stream and drop a review. It helps to the show to grow, and also it tells everyone about it, right? So, with this hope, this is your host Avik, and this is Pleasure Principles. Keep your heart soft, your boundaries strong, and your life yours. So, thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.